You are listening to The Vocal Technologist. Spoken Tech for your ears.
So in the early 1980s, the invention of spreadsheet software, wiped out roughly 1 million bookkeeping jobs almost overnight.
Yeah, and if you were reading the headlines back then, you would have thought the white-collar working world was permanently ending.
Right. But what happened next completely defies what most people are predicting about artificial intelligence today.
Oh, absolutely.
Because in that exact same window of time, the spreadsheet minted 1.5 million financial analyst jobs. I mean, when you make the actual manual calculation part of the job practically free, the demand for people who can analyze and strategize around those calculations, it just skyrockets.
It's the ultimate historical counter-narrative, right? Like to the panic we see in the market today. We keep assuming efficiency means subtraction, when historically, it has almost always meant evolution.
Welcome to you, our favorite listener, to another deep dive. Today we are unpacking a stack of recent tech intelligence, specifically 3 editions of the TLDR Founders newsletters from early May 2026. Our mission today is to extract the absolute signal from the noise. We are moving past the daily hype cycle to understand how AI is fundamentally rewiring companies.
Yeah, from the ground up.
Exactly. We're going to explore how human roles are actually shifting, the impending collapse of traditional software pricing, and all the way down to how customers actually discover products when AI agents are the ones doing the searching for them.
Right.
So this deep dive is custom tailored for you, the learner who wants to stay ahead of the curve without feeling buried in information overload.
And what becomes immediately apparent when you synthesize these dispatches is a massive structural divergence in the business world.
Yeah.
We are witnessing this harsh split between companies that merely use AI, meaning they just, bolt it onto their existing operations, and companies that are being entirely built around it from the floor up.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because before we look at how businesses are rebuilding their tech infrastructure, we really have to look at how this impacts the actual humans working inside those companies.
Right, the human element.
Yeah. I want to go back to that AI job apocalypse narrative, this idea that we're all going to be replaced tomorrow by a humming server rack.
Well, the data actively debunks that doom and gloom narrative.
Yeah.
Andreessen Horowitz, the major venture capital firm that closely tracks these macro technological trends,
Right.
they point out that dooners keep predicting jobs will disappear in these massive productivity revolutions, and they just consistently get it wrong.
So what are companies actually doing with their headcounts right now? I mean, are they firing people?
Not at all. If you look at current corporate earnings calls across the board, there's an 8-to-1 ratio of executives talking about AI for augmentation versus using it for substitution.
8 to 1. Wow.
Yeah. Furthermore, a recent Atlanta Fed report noted that 9 out of 10 firms saw 0 impact on their headcount from AI over a 3-year period.
That's huge.
Right. What we are seeing isn't a massive reduction of humans. It's a fundamental shift in the mechanics of what the human is actually doing. The phrase used in the sources is the move from an AI-first mentality to an AI-only mentality.
Okay, wait. AI only sounds exactly like the job apocalypse. If it's AI only, where is the human?
So it is a shift in the operating loop. AI first means you're asking, can the AI do the work of the human pilot?
Okay.
In that model, the human is still flying the plane, just with better instruments. But AI only means we are building extensive workflows where no human sits inside the actual execution loop anymore.
Oh, I see.
The execution runs end-to-end on machines. The humans step back. They set the goals, the values, the constraints, and the conditions for when the machine needs to escalate a problem.
Let me play devil's advocate here for a second.
Sure.
If we are moving to an AI-only workflow, and human beings are just setting the rules and watching for escalations, doesn't that just make us glorified babysitters for enterprise software?
It's funny you say that, but if we connect this to the bigger picture, it is actually the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Babysitting implies you are just passively watching to make sure the software doesn't break something. Stewarding, which is the term the industry is moving toward, means you are the architect of the outcomes. There is a fantastic framework in our sources from Anne Muraco, who adapted the autonomous vehicle levels of autonomy, to map out enterprise AI adoption.
Oh, yeah, the 6 levels. I found those levels to be a brutal reality check. Walk us through how a company actually moves up that scale.
Well, level 1 is simple personal productivity. So like an individual employee using a chatbot to write an email faster or summarize a PDF.
We've all been there.
Right. Then level 2 moves up to functional silos. So
Mhm.
maybe the marketing team has a specialized tool for generating ad copy. But level 3 is where the friction really begins.
Mm.
To reach level 3, you need AI agents acting across your varied systems, your customer relationship management tools, your code bases, your internal ticketing systems.
And from my understanding, the jump from level 2 to level 3 is where most companies are failing right now because their internal databases simply do not talk to each other.
Precisely. They're totally siloed. And if you somehow manage to connect those systems, you reach level 4. That is described as a compounding operating system.
Compounding, meaning it builds on itself.
Exactly. AI agents are actively finding and fixing issues across the company. Humans only jump in to review things at the merge point, meaning the exact moment where the AI's proposed solution or new code is about to be permanently mixed into the company's core operations.
Wow.
And finally, level 5, which is still largely hypothetical for complex businesses, is the system noticing problems, acting entirely within its delegated authority and updating the company's shared memory without a human ever initiating the loop.
So going back to my babysitter analogy, the sources note that most companies are nowhere near ready for level 4 or level 5 because execution is utterly powerless without direction.
Exactly.
Like if you just unleash an AI to fix things without a human steward defining what FIST actually means for the business, you just generate highly efficient chaos.
Highly efficient chaos. That is the core insight right there. The real trade-off at the heart of this new AI to labor ratio is resiliency.
Resiliency.
Yeah. The value of a human employee is no longer in executing middle-layer tasks. The value has shifted entirely upward to human judgment, strategic direction, and empathy.
I want to ask you, the listener, to think about your own daily workflow for a second.
Mm.
Where do you honestly sit on that scale from 1 to 5?
It's a great question.
Are you just using a shiny level 1 chatbot to write emails? Or are you stewarding a level 3 system that crosses multiple databases? Because if human roles are fundamentally shifting from operators to stewards, then the companies themselves have to be built completely differently.
Right.
You cannot run level 4 autonomous agents on a fragmented 2015 tech stack.
You really can't. And this brings into focus a concept from Alfred Lin called the long becoming. This is the perilous gap between a company that is merely AI-enabled and one that is truly AI-native.
AI-enabled being the company that just, bolts a chat window onto yesterday's broken process?
Yes. Lin compares it to the massive industry shift to cloud computing. For a while, cloud-enabled and cloud-native companies looked identical to the outside world.
Oh, right.
But eventually, the adoption curves violently diverged. AI-native means you are rebuilding the product, the internal workflow, and the entire organizational chart from the absolute floor up to assume AI is doing the execution.
And when a company actually manages to do that, the acceleration is just stunning. The sources mention the adoption curve for tools like Claude Code. When engineering teams mandate its use, the velocity explodes. But it's not evenly distributed, right?
No, the numbers are fascinating. The median engineer gets a solid 20% productivity bump.
Which is pretty good.
It is. But the top decile engineers, the best of the best, they become 5 times more productive.
5 times. So if top engineers are suddenly writing code 5 times faster, coding itself is no longer the bottleneck. What is actually slowing these companies down?
Well, there are 2 main bottlenecks. The first is what the sources call product taste. Yeah. When you can build almost anything instantly, the new rate limit is having the human judgment to decide what is actually worth building in the first place.
That makes total sense.
And the second, more mechanical bottleneck is the agent integration tax.
Oh man, the agent integration tax, this blew my mind. Walk us through the math on this because it shows just how broken our current software ecosystems are.
It really does. Salesforce released an estimate showing that simply copying context across different apps costs the average employee 2 hours of productivity every single day.
2 hours a day, just manually acting as a human bridge between systems.
Exactly.
Like reading an update in Slack, summarizing it, and pasting it into a Google Workspace document or a Salesforce tracker.
Right. A quarter of the human workday is lost to manual coordination. It is not model intelligence that is holding enterprise AI back. It is coordination across fragmented systems.
Mm-hmm.
That is why companies like ServiceNow are running 95 billion workflows annually to try and move these disparate agents into a governed registry so they can finally speak the same language.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. We are talking about the necessity of connecting all these internal systems so the AI can perfectly understand and operate the company.
Okay.
But there is a massive counterintuitive danger in doing that too well. The newsletters call it strategic illegibility.
Oh, this might be the most critical insight for founders right now. The premise is that if you make your entire company perfectly legible and understandable to an internal AI agent, you might accidentally commoditize your own competitive moat.
Okay, let me try an analogy. It's like having a secret family recipe for the greatest barbecue sauce in the world.
Okay, I like it.
If you carefully write out the exact measurements, the cooking temperatures, and the specific brands of spices you use, and you feed all of that into a centralized AI that anyone in the company can query, you've just handed over the magic.
Yes,
Are companies seriously being advised to intentionally hide their secret sauce from their own internal technology to protect their competitive advantage?
they absolutely are. You need to build a digital twin of your company that AI agents can navigate for basic execution. But you must deliberately keep certain high-value things illegible, meaning hidden, uncodified, or strictly human-driven.
That is wild.
The things that make your company weird, highly specific, and hard to copy must remain outside the AI's complete understanding.
Because if you don't build those defensible, human-driven operational layers, you run the risk of becoming what the industry calls a wrapper.
Exactly. And a wrapper is essentially a business or an engineer that just passes a user's request to an AI model and then passes the model's answer back to the user. They don't apply any unique reasoning.
Right.
If your entire business is entirely legible and easily handled by a third-party model, you have zero defensibility. A competitor with access to the same AI agent can replicate your output over the weekend.
Wow.
You have to ask yourself, what is the messy, highly specific human judgment you possess that an AI agent couldn't easily map and replicate?
Okay, let's follow the logic here. You've restructured your workforce into stewards. You've paid the integration tax to rebuild your infrastructure to be AI native while carefully maintaining your strategic illegibility.
Yep.
Now comes the million-dollar question. How do you actually make money?
That is the question.
If the AI is doing the execution, how do you charge for the product? Because according to these sources, the traditional software business model is collapsing.
We are looking at the death of per-seat pricing.
Yeah.
The entire modern software as a service, or SaaS industry, was built on licensing software per human employee.
Right.
If a company has 50 employees, they buy 50 software seats. But Microsoft and other giants are currently signaling the end of that era.
Wait, per-seat pricing is the bedrock of Silicon Valley. I mean, Wall Street values these massive tech companies based on those exact predictable recurring seats.
They do.
If they kill the seat model, doesn't the entire SaaS revenue model collapse? How do they justify their valuations?
Well, they justify it by shifting to prepaid consumption. The seat is just becoming a packaging mechanism for access. The actual revenue will come from paying per token processed, per specific agent action, or even per business outcome achieved.
Per outcome.
Yeah. This gives rise to an entirely new category called services as software. The prediction is that the next trillion-dollar company won't sell a software tool for humans to use. It will sell the work itself. AI is turning massive corporate services budgets into something software startups can finally attack.
So what does this actually mean for the buyer? If I am paying for the work instead of the software seat, is buying enterprise technology now less like buying a power drill and more like hiring a digital contractor?
That is the exact mechanical shift. When you buy a power drill under the old SaaS model, you own the capacity to make a hole in the wall. But you still have to supply the expensive human labor to operate the drill.
Right.
In the services as software model, you are simply buying the hole in the wall. You don't care what brand of digital hammer or drill the AI uses as long as the outcome is achieved.
But you can't sell a digital contractor the same way you sell a power drill.
You really cannot. This forces a massive go-to-market or GTM refactor for these companies. Sales and marketing teams can no longer rely on traditional calendar-based outreach.
Because the buyer isn't buying a tool for next year.
Exactly. They need AI agents managing dynamic, signal-based, multi-step workflows. Furthermore, they are explicitly advised not to price based on build effort, because the effort to build the software is largely irrelevant to the buyer now.
Oh, interesting.
Pricing is a product surface. It has to be treated as a hypothesis and tested constantly.
And the metrics for success change entirely, right?
Drastically. It is no longer just about annual recurring revenue from locked-in seats.
Huh?
The new lighthouse metrics in B2B AI are DAU, WAU, and MAU daily, weekly, and monthly active users.
Slow down there for a second.
Yeah.
Why are daily active users the new holy grail? Why does an enterprise business tool care about daily users like it's a consumer social media app?
Because in a consumption-based model, an inactive user isn't just a churn risk for next year's renewal. They represent literal lost revenue today.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hmm.
If you charge by the token or the outcome, and nobody is actively interacting with the agent to trigger those outcomes, you make $0. Engagement is directly tied to immediate revenue. Cemented pricing caps growth and bleeds margins in this new environment.
Okay, so we have a new workforce of stewards, a newly connected infrastructure, and an entirely new outcome-based pricing model. But there is one massive piece of the puzzle left. If we are selling outcomes instead of tools, how do customers actually discover your product when AI agents are the ones doing the searching?
This brings us to a seismic shift in discovery. AEO, or AI Engine Optimization, is rapidly replacing traditional SEO.
I saw this dynamic in the sources, and it is completely changing the buyer's journey. Buyers are now showing up to a company's homepage with the comparison shopping already finished.
Yeah.
They are basically saying to their AI assistant, shortlist the top 3 vendors for this specific problem, explain the trade-offs of each, and rule out the obvious mismatches before they even click a single link.
And because of that, your company's positioning is being entirely rebuilt in real time based on whatever the AI model can scrape together. Old blog posts, legacy support docs, YouTube transcripts, third-party reviews.
That's terrifying.
It is. The sources noted one company that managed to double their lead quality, not by chasing new website backlinks, but simply by auditing and editing the legacy pages that large language models were already citing.
Because they realized the AI was summarizing outdated help docs and describing their current product completely wrong.
Yep.
Messaging drift used to just be a minor branding annoyance. Now it mechanically removes you from the AI shortlist before the human buyer even knows you exist.
But getting on the AI shortlist is only half the battle, because AI has made competent, useful content incredibly cheap and abundant. Producing more how-to blogs doesn't give you a competitive edge anymore. Useful is everywhere. What is actually scarce, and what truly compounds over time, is what the sources call the lens premium.
The lens premium. I love the framing of this. How does it actually work?
The lens premium is about giving buyers a new frame, a new conceptual way of seeing their market or their problem that they didn't have before.
Okay.
The companies that win, like Stripe or Notion did in their early days, achieved this by naming a customer's half-formed belief better than the customer can name it themselves. When you articulate their pain point perfectly, the customer adopts your lens, and they start using your vocabulary to explain their own problem.
So AEO gets you past the robotic gatekeeper, but the lens premium is how you actually win the trust of the human buyer.
Exactly.
And there was a brilliant case study in the newsletters about this exact tension. Launch Video coordinating the launch of an AI marketing platform called Helena?
Yes. They achieved 3.6 million views and over 70% positive sentiment, which is incredibly difficult for an AI product launch right now, given the market skepticism.
And the specific mechanical way they did it is fascinating. They explicitly rejected calling their product an AI CMO. Why? Because a chief marketing officer is the person who holds the budget.
Right.
If you frame your tool as the AI CMO, you immediately threaten the ego and the job security of the exact human buyer you need to sign the check.
That's exactly it.
So instead, they anchored the messaging as an autonomous AI marketer, framing it as a tool for the CMO to steward. And to take it a step further, they shifted their launch from the standard tech launch Tuesday morning to a Monday, just to dodge the crowded algorithmic social media feeds.
It perfectly illustrates the tension companies are navigating. You must optimize for the machine's reading capability to be found, but you must profoundly understand human psychology to actually be chosen. As one of our sources beautifully synthesized, speed only tells you how fast you're moving. Velocity tells you how fast you're moving and where you are going.
Yeah.
AI gives you the speed. The human lens premium provides the velocity.
It is a wild paradox. We are spending immense engineering resources optimizing our websites so language models can parse our data better. But in the end, we still have to carefully coddle the human ego so the buyer doesn't feel threatened by the tech.
That paradox is the exact reality of the steward model we discussed at the very beginning. We are optimizing the machine so that the human can focus entirely on judgment, connection, and strategy.
All right, let's bring this all together for a rapid-fire recap because we have covered a massive amount of ground today.
We really have.
We started by busting the myth of the AI job apocalypse, recognizing that while the execution layer is disappearing, human value is skyrocketing as we elevate from operators to stewards. We walked through the brutal reality of the 6 levels of corruption, realizing most of the corporate world is still stuck at level 1 or 2 because their systems simply cannot talk to each other.
And we examined the necessary transition to becoming truly AI native, the heavy 2-hour-a-day toll of the agent integration tax, and the vital importance of maintaining strategic eligibility, hiding your secret sauce, so you don't become just another disposable wrapper.
We looked at the impending death of per-seat pricing and the rise of services as software, where we stop selling the power drill and start selling the hole in the wall.
Yes.
And finally, we landed on the new frontier of discovery, mathematically optimizing for AI search agents through AEO while capturing human psychology with the Lens Premium.
It represents a complete, ground-up rewiring of how business value is created, delivered, and discovered.
So to you, our listener, whether you are an engineer writing code, a founder building a startup, or just someone insanely curious about where the professional world is heading, the shift from participating in workflows to stewarding systems isn't some distant science fiction future.
No, it's not.
It is happening right now, this week, on the ground.
And as we navigate this massive shift, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over. We've talked extensively today about AI agents doing the vendor shortlisting for buyers and software companies moving to outcome-based consumption tokens.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, as these systems reach level 4 and level 5 economy, how long until we see an AI procurement agent actively negotiating outcome pricing with an AI sales agent, completely cutting humans out of the B2B purchasing loop altogether?
Wow. Now that is a thought to take into your next big strategy meeting. We hope this deep dive has helped you separate the signal from the noise today. Keep questioning your assumptions, keep figuring out what makes your own skills strategically illegible to the machines, and remember, don't just swap the spark plug when it's time to build a hovercraft. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Spoken Tech, for your ears.